To the people of Tacoma and beyond, on Sunday, August 9th, I regrettably involved myself in a protest taking place outside of my place of business, Dorky's Arcade in downtown Tacoma. Over the course of several minutes, I engaged in shameful behavior that included engaging in shouting matches with Black Lives Matter and Tacoma stance at protesters, dancing in a mocking fashion amongst them, and using my bullhorn to drown out the protests. The most offensive of my actions was using the N-word. All of this was regrettable, and none of it is excusable. Upon returning to my store and calming down, I realized just how hateful and unacceptable my behavior and my words were. I immediately went back and found the gentleman who I had called the N-word, Letty Horton. Like me, is set to turn 40 soon. I pulled him aside and apologized to him for what I had done. Letty and I embraced each other and both discussed the importance of learning how to work together as people, and that we need to get past the hate and the division that unfortunately remains prominent in our society today. I returned to my establishment believing that I had made the best amends that I could. I had been taught from when I was little that when you do something wrong, you apologize. It wasn't until the next morning that I realized I had become the center of controversy, a position that I had never found myself in before, not just as the co-owner of Dorky's Arcade, but as a human being. I read post after post of social media, received countless texts and voicemail, had parodies done of me on YouTube, all about me being a bigot, a racist, a cancer of the business community. I saw the video that captured my actions just the day before. I watched it repeatedly. I shook my head, and I just thought it was horrible behavior. I quickly found myself in front of the media. I was being asked directly why I did what I did, even though there was absolutely no excuse for my actions or words that I had inflicted on Letty and his fellow protesters that day. Though I tried to convey that I was remorseful, the questions I was being asked were, what made you do it? Why did you engage with them? So I did my best to explain what was going on in my head at the time, no matter how inexcusable and ill-advised my choices were that day. This then turned into me being accused of trying to justify what I did. And I can certainly see how people would arrive at that conclusion. I'm not blaming the media or anyone else that asked me to explain myself, but the truth is, how can you give a satisfactory answer to something that has no justification? I have done my best over the few days to reach out directly to Letty, his mother, as well as others that were partaking in this protest. I wanted the opportunity to talk to them again, to try and create a dialogue, to see what I could do to help make amends. And as of my writing of this letter, I have not been replied to, nor have they reached out to me on their own accord. As of my writing of this letter, I have not been replied to, nor have they reached out to me on their own accord. So there is some personal information about myself that I deliberately have not shared publicly, out of concern that it would be deemed that I'm making excuses for my behavior. I'm a private person, and most people that know me are not aware of this, but I offer it here for what it's worth. I served in the U.S. Army back in the late 1990s at Fort Lewis. I was highly decorated, but I was also diagnosed a couple of months ago by the VA as having adjustment disorder. Caroline, my better half and co-owner of Dorky's Arcade, and we recently lost our home. And to that stress of having a new baby, our first together, that plus the stress of keeping a business profitable while providing employment for nearly a dozen employees that depend on us. I sought out to have physiological tests run on myself so that I could find a path to making myself better. To be clear, all of this is documented, and I'm happy to provide statements for the VA that prove this is entirely true, and nearly half a month before my actions this past Sunday. I don't offer this personal information in an attempt to excuse myself nor to seek pity. Rather, that I was aware before the incident that I needed to make some changes in my life with how I handled not only stress, but my temper and anger as well. One doesn't know just how many people they can let down until they make the kind of mistake that I did. My teenage son from a previous relationship told me for the first time in his life how much I disappointed him. There's never been a bigger gut punch than when your own child tells you such a thing. When I shouted the N-word to Letty's face, I was shouting in the face of every African-American friend I'd ever had. All of this has made me realize that actions of one person can make a difference, good or bad, to so many. And it is with this realization that I'm committed to try and use my energies to make a positive difference. This is what Caroline and I have tried to do for the last 5 years with Dorky's Arcade. We've tried to provide the community with something positive, somewhere fun and inexpensive for both kids and adults to enjoy, somewhere where the only color that matters are the pixels on the screen. Yesterday was the first day we were open since the protest. To be honest, I had no idea what to expect. Would my windows be broken in, the building spray painted, my arcade or pinball games destroyed? I'm happy to say none of that happened. It's a testament to the peaceful message that the protesters proclaimed. I feared for what might happen to my employees. After all, we had received countless death threats, including against my little daughter. My employees were threatened, and they'd been labeled racist themselves if they continued to work for me. Or that the patrons of Dorky's would be deemed racist for putting quarters into my machines. But once again, nothing happened. Dorky's Arcade actually had more business for Tuesday than we've had in a long time. I watched as mothers brought their kids, people of all colors, both young and old. They entered and proceeded to enjoy themselves. Still, the nagging thought of what I had put the protesters through, how I put my family and employees at risk of losing their livelihood that they depend on, remained and continues to do so now. There is a boycott of Dorky's Arcade that has been initiated by the protesters with Black Lives Matters and Tacoma Stands Up, and have promised to be back on Sunday. I don't blame them for wanting to boycott. However, I'm saddened by it, and I don't believe that the big picture is going to help things. The reality is that there are people that will no longer step into the foot of Dorky's Arcade no matter what I say or do. Their minds are made up, and again, they are absolutely entitled to stand for their convictions. At the same time, there are those that do not agree with the measures which Black Lives Matters and Tacoma Stands Up protesters are taking with a boycott, and will continue to patronize Dorky's Arcade no matter what, as the risk of being labeled traitors or racists. I have received messages from those that say I'll never get another quarter from them, and others that have told me that they didn't even know about Dorky's Arcade until the news reports, and they're committed to coming down to support my business. I have been contacted by local businesses that now disown associating themselves with me, and others who say they stand by me. My biggest concern at this point is not the survival of Dorky's Arcade. It's just a place. My staff are all first-rate good people that can all easily find jobs elsewhere. Caroline and I could sell off all of our games, or the Dorky's Arcade itself, for that matter, and go live another part of the world happily. Rather, my biggest concern is that those that wish to boycott Dorky's and those that find the boycott unfair are now going to spend their energies and efforts being negative towards each other. One need only look on social media as to what both sides of the argument are saying and how they are saying it. And ultimately, I am the one that helped ignite it, and that's the albatross I have to wear. The Black Lives Matter and Tacoma Stands Up protesters like me have been the subject of controversy. There are countless news articles, both locally and nationally, where they have been receiving negative press for what they deem disruptive and inconsiderate behavior. This is an issue that preceded my involvement and will no doubt stretch beyond it. As for me, I support it, and I vow to back the sentiment up with action. Specifically, I'm extending an open invite to all the protesters to use Dorky's Arcade as a place to meet at any time they choose. They are free to use my restrooms anytime, which I provide normally only for customers. Additionally, Dorky's Arcade will be bringing out refreshments to the Black Lives Matter protesters. It's supposed to be another warm day on Sunday. Finally, every Sunday, every game and anyone puts into the machine at Dorky's Arcade will be donated directly to Black Lives Matter and Tacoma Stands Up, and will do so even with the boycott in effect. I offer all of this as a gesture of goodwill, as a sincere attempt to make things right and to put the conversation of unity back on course. In the end, no individual, no group or people can force someone to change. A person has to want to do that for themselves. Bullying is a tactic that is wrong for anyone to use on any side of the argument, simply because it never can generate genuine change. Fear doesn't change the person, conviction does, and nobody can inflict conviction on someone other than the person themselves. I've said repeatedly, and I will say it again, that I'm not a racist. What I am is a man that has psychological and anger issues that I need to work out. Issues that I had long before last Sunday. I know how to say hateful things that can hurt people, but I also know my heart, and I know that as much as I have many things to work on in building a better version of myself, loving people of all colors is not an improvement that is needed. I have always loved everyone my whole life. One of the things I am proud of most about Dorkies is that people from all walks of life, people of every color, come together to have a good time. Being racist has never been an issue I've had. A person would never arrive at that conclusion based on my actions and words that were caught on tape at the protest. But being ignorant, disrespectful, and having a wealth of diagnosed mental and emotional issues to sort out doesn't make a person racist. How many times have any of us called someone a name purposely because we knew it would hurt them and pushed their button even if in our heart we didn't believe that garbage we were spewing? Me using the word I did makes me a disgusting, reckless jerk. It does not make me a racist. Racism is a real problem in our society. I've never abided it, and I don't ride with people that do. As for me, I will continue to work on getting help for the things I need to make right in my life, while at the same time accepting all the blame put on me for hurting a group of protesters that were in and remain innocent in all this. I would hope that part of their message, aside from awareness and unity, is also that of mercy and forgiveness, both of which I humbly ask for. In situations such as these, quotas are always questioned. Is an apology sincere, or has it been strong-armed? Is someone acting out of fear or regret, force or understanding? I can only speak for myself. I'm absolutely sorry. I'm taking steps to improve myself and will strive to make Dorky's Arcade known for its support of the fight against racism. To offer anything else, to continue to be punished, to continue to be labeled, or to force me into actions against my will won't, however, be genuine, nor will it ultimately bring any of us any good or bring us in society together. I am certain only of the fact that the last person that will ever forgive me will be myself. To quote the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., we must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There is some good in the worst of us, and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies. Black Lives Matter. Indeed.